Hi girls. Today we're going to continue our discussion about systems of linear equations. So the other day we solved these systems of equations by graphing, and then yesterday and today we solved them algebraically. We're going to continue with solving them algebraically, but this time we're going to have them presented to us as word problems. The steps for doing this would be to first identify your variables. So in this case, our example says find the value of two numbers if their sum is 12 and their difference is 4. So in this case, we're looking for two numbers, so we don't really need to name our variables. We can just call them x and y. So I want to make sure that you are taking notes along with me. We're going to do 6 problems together, and then you will write that on notebook paper, turn it in tomorrow for your homework. When we're done here, there is a quiz that I've posted on Edmodo that I want you to take. You need to finish it by midnight tonight. You cannot do it tomorrow. It will be considered incomplete if you do it tomorrow. There'll be 2 more problems for you to solve there. And it is just a short answer. When you find your problem, when you find your answers, then all you would type in is 5 beach balls and 8 soccer balls, whatever the answer might be. All right, so we decided here we're going to use x and y for our 2 numbers. So in this case, we're going to say x plus y, the sum, the value of 2 numbers, their sum is 12, and their difference is 4. So it's the same x, minus y is equal to 4. So I see right here, I've got positive 1 in front of my x's, positive 1, negative 1. I can just add my 2 equations together. These are going to add to 0, so I've got 2x equals 12 plus 4, which is 16. Divide both sides by 2, so x equals 8. Now I have my x, and I'll plug it back into one of my equations to find my y. So 8 plus y equals 12. We'll subtract 8 from both sides, and y equals 4. So in this case, my 2 numbers are 8 and 4. I won't write these as an ordered pair because this really isn't a coordinate point. It is the answer to the question what the 2 numbers are. All right, our next problem says there are 13 animals in the barn. Some are chickens and some are pigs. There are 40 legs in all. How many of each animal are there? Well, first I want to name my variables. C is going to stand for chickens, the number of chickens that we have, and P is going to stand for the number of pigs that we have. And it tells us the first thing in the problem that the number of chickens plus the number of pigs equals 13. Next it tells us there are 40 legs in all. So that means I need to think about how many legs a chicken has and how many legs a pig has. So a chicken has 2 legs, so there's 2 legs for every chicken, plus 4 legs for every pig, and there's a total of 40 legs altogether. So now I have my 2 equations. I have to figure out which variable I want to eliminate. I'm going to eliminate chicken. So I want the coefficient in front of the c to be -2, so I'm going to multiply the entire equation by -2. My new equation I'm going to bring down here so I can solve these 2 equations. So -2 times c gives me -2c, -2 times p gives me -2p, and -2 times 13 gives me -26. So now I've got these 2 equations, and all I need to do is add them together. Okay, the c's cancel out, so 4 minus 2p is going to leave me with 2p. 40 minus 26 is 14. Divide both sides by 2. So there are 7 pigs. Let's go over here, back to one of our original equations. So c plus 7 pigs equals 13. Subtract 7 from both sides. c equals 6. So instead of writing an ordered pair, I would come over here and say 6 chickens and 7 pigs. And that's what you would do tonight for your answer. You would just type in 6 chickens, 7 pigs. All right, let's move on to the next problem. a class of 195 students took 7 vehicles, or went on a field trip. They took 7 vehicles, some cars and some buses. Find the number of cars and the number of buses they took if each car holds 5 students and each bus holds 45 students. So first of all, we have 2 types of vehicles. We have C for cars, and we're going to use B for buses. And it tells us there are 7 vehicles altogether. So right away, I know that the number of cars plus the number of buses equals 7. Now it tells us how much each of those holds. It says a car holds 5 students, while a bus holds 45 students. And the total number of students attending, 195. So I have my 2 equations. I've decided that I am going to eliminate the cars, so I'm going to multiply the top equation by -5. So -5c minus 5b is equal to -35. Let's add these 2 equations. My c's add out to 0. 45b minus 5b is 40b. 195 minus 35 is 160. Divide both sides by 40. So that tells me there are 4 buses. Go back to one of our original equations to find the number of cars. So C plus 4 equals 7. Subtract 4 from both sides. C equals 3. So there are 3 cars and 4 buses. And again, that's what we would write, that's what you would write tonight when you were working on the quiz. Next problem. The school that Stefan goes to is selling tickets to a choral performance. On the first day of ticket sales, the school sold 3 senior citizen tickets and 1 child ticket for a total of $38. The school took in $52 on the second day by selling 3 senior tickets and 2 child tickets. Find the price of a senior ticket and the price of a child ticket. So I'm going to start with my variables and what they represent. So S stands for a senior ticket and C stands for a child ticket. So our first line says on the first day, 3 senior tickets and 1 child ticket sold for $38. On the second day, it says 3 senior tickets and 2 child tickets sold for $52. So now I have my 2 equations. I've decided I'm just going to eliminate the senior tickets by subtracting the entire second equation. So 3s minus 3s, that's 0. C minus 2c gives me -c, and 38 minus 52 gives me -14. So -c equals -14. Divide both sides by -1. Positive c equals 14. Let's go back to one of our original equations to find what a senior ticket costs. 3s plus 14 equals 38. Subtract 14 from both sides. 3s is equal to 24. To solve for s, divide both sides by 3. The price of a senior ticket is $8. So I would come over here and I would say a senior ticket costs $8 and a child ticket costs $14. All right. A catering company is setting up tables for a big event that will host 764 people. When they set up the tables, they need 2 forks for each child and 5 forks for each adult. If the company ordered a total of 2,992 forks, how many adults and how many children will be attending the event? So I know They have forks in common, so that's not one of my variables. I'm going to use C for the number of children attending and A for the number of adults attending. So it says here that there are 764 people attending. So that means the number of children plus the number of adults equals 764. That's my first equation. Now, there's going to be 2 forks for every child plus 5 forks for every adult, and that's going to total the 2,992 forks. Again, I have my 2 equations. So I'm going to eliminate the C's. I'm going to multiply my top equation by -2 and rewrite it down here. So -2C minus 2A is equal to -2 times 764 gives me -1528. So I'm just going to add these 2 equations. These are the 2 equations I'm looking at. Add to 0, 5A minus 2A gives me 3A. 2992 minus 1528 gives me 1464. Divide both sides by 3. The number of adults attending is 488. Let's plug that back in to one of the originals. C plus 488 equals 764. Subtract 488 from both sides. The number of children attending is 276. So we would come back over here and we would say children would be 276 and adults 488. All right, one more practice problem. So this one says, on Monday, Joe bought 10 cups of coffee and 5 donuts for his office at the cost of $16.50. It turns out that the donuts were more popular than the coffee. On Tuesday, he bought 5 cups of coffee and 10 donuts for a total of $14.25. How much was each cup of coffee? So he's buying coffee and donuts. So we're going to use C as our variable for coffee and D as our variable for donuts. And on the first day, he bought 10 cups of coffee and 5 donuts. And he paid $16.50. When I'm working with it computationally, I don't need to put the 0 there. On the second day, he bought 5 cups of coffee and 10 donuts, and it cost $14.25. I think I'll put that 0 back there since I have 2 after the decimal in the second equation. Now this only says how much does each cup of coffee represent. So that means I should try and eliminate my donuts. This is 5, this is 10. It would be nice for me to get this to be -10. That way these would cancel out. So in order to make 5 -10, I'm going to multiply the top equation by -2. I'm going to rewrite it down here. So -2 times 10C is -20C. -2 times 5D gives us -10D. And then -2 times 1650 gives me -33. So again, these are the 2 equations I'm working with now. I'm going to add them together. 5C minus 20C gives me -15C. My D's cancel. 14.25 minus 33 gives me -18.75. To solve for C, I divide both sides by -15. So that will give me 1.25. So a cup of coffee costs $1.25. We don't need to go find the cost of a donut because it wasn't in the question. Sometimes it asks you for both variables, sometimes it only asks you for one. Okay, so now that you've completed this, this is what you'll turn in tomorrow for your homework. and go ahead and take the quiz. There are two word problems that look like this, and you've got 30 minutes. I allocated 30 minutes for that quiz. So we'll see you tomorrow. And you do not have to, after you've watched the video, type in "I am done." That was just that one time. See you tomorrow.